While their parents were setting up camp, the two sisters went into the forest to play hide and seek, but only one returned. After a day of desperate searching, the police found the older sister deep in the forest. But the sight was truly horrifying. The girl stood alone, her face expressionless, and her whole body covered in scum. Not far away, the younger brother's body was found at the foot of the cliff, the only clue being the blindfold of the escape game. All suspicious eyes turned towards the little older sister. Although no one dared to say it out loud, everyone wondered whether such an innocent child could be the culprit or if it was an accident. The old case ended in a terrifying silence, but it sowed a seed of suspicion in the father's heart. Even years later, as Habeen grew up, that fear never disappeared. This girl not only possessed a beautiful appearance but also had an exceptionally keen observational ability. One day, she was riding the subway to school like everyone else. At that moment, she noticed the furtive behavior of a young girl. Looking closer, she realized that the girl was secretly stealing the phone of the passenger in front of her. Amidst the bustling crowd, she was brazenly stealing someone else's belongings without anyone noticing. Only the girl who initially glanced at the music immediately recognized this wicked act. Soon after, the customer realized her phone had disappeared. Without thinking much, she immediately asked the person next to her to call her number to find it. The phone immediately rang. The girl who stole the items tried to hang up the call so many times, but it was all in vain. Observing everything from a distance, the girl with keen observation skills helped the professional thief a little. The alarm sound from her phone immediately attracted everyone's attention. Thanks to that, the wicked girl successfully escaped a humiliating defeat. If this hadn't happened, everyone would have thought Habeen was just an ordinary student. But she has a father who is anything but ordinary. Mr. T. Shu, Habeen's father, is a top figure in the field of criminal psychology analysis. When no one in South Korea dared to enter this field, he pioneered it. The online community still whispers that few people have the ability to analyze things as thoroughly as Tu. Just by glancing at the crime scene, he could guess the suspect's identity. One night, a white skeleton was accidentally discovered buried deep in the dense forest. After examining the scene, the forensic team confirmed that the deceased was a student. However, Tesu, who was known as a master of analysis, offered no conclusions. Instead, he just pondered thoughtfully and then hurriedly drove back home. That day, a man as clumsy in the kitchen as Tesu personally prepared a lavish meal. Not only that, he meticulously placed candles on the beautiful cake on the table. It turned out that today was Habeen's birthday, his only child. Due to many problems in their lives, Tu and his wife had separated a few years ago. That evening, after busily preparing everything, Tu personally drove to the tutoring center where Habeen was studying. But he waited and still didn't see his daughter. He asked the center's administrator and learned that Habeen had dropped out of school more than 2 months ago. Before he could recover from this shock, another one struck. Right at this music, the police called to inform him that his daughter, Habeen, had just been summoned to the police station for fighting with 2 other girls. Despite the police officer's harsh words of reproach, Habeen was quietly observing everything around her. Looking over at the officer's desk, her eyes accidentally fell upon a photo of him with his daughter. The photo showed the police officer and his daughter happily studying at Kondo. Without much thought, Habeen quickly grasped the police officer's psychology. Then she immediately played the role of crying and recounting her life story. Her father was also an upright police officer who always advised his daughter to apply the skills she had learned to life. Habeen said this not to complain to the police officer, but to appeal to the psychology of a father like him. A man who also has a daughter like him would surely feel empathy for her situation. Just as Habeen had planned, after hearing his attitude, the police officer immediately changed completely. A short while later, Tu also arrived at the police station as scheduled. Seeing Habeen's father had arrived, the police officer immediately recounted the whole story. During the investigation, the police found several strange phones hidden on Habeen and the 2 young girls. Although the police knew the phones had an unclear origin, all 3 adamantly refused to admit to intentionally stealing other people's belongings. After hearing that the incident took place at a motel on the street, the father immediately turned to question his daughter. He didn't understand why she went to such a place instead of going to school. Hearing this, Habeen still refused to answer, only insisting that she didn't secretly steal anything from others. Coming from a background as a professional criminal psychologist, Tu immediately noticed something unusual about his daughter. Unconsciously, Habeen bit her lower lip, and that was one of the clearest signs that she was lying. No one in the field of criminal psychology analysis could fail to recognize this sign. And Shu was no exception. That's why Tu began to feel suspicious about his daughter. After Tu bailed out his daughter, the two of them immediately set off to return home. The grand birthday party was waiting for them to enjoy. But instead of eating the food her father cooked, Habeen quietly opened the refrigerator, took out a box of salad, and ate it alone. Seeing his daughter being so stubborn, Shu could only bow his head and apologize to her. After all, he bears a significant responsibility for her becoming like this. Over the years, when his daughter needed him most, he was absent from important occasions. He promised that from now on, he would wholeheartedly dedicate himself to caring for his daughter's life. Before he could finish speaking, Habeen angrily put down her chopsticks and glared at her father. After experiencing so much loss, her father's concern for her has become superfluous. Hearing this, Shu immediately switched to a stern mode, asking why his daughter was associating with such bad people. Moreover, why she had dropped out of the tutoring center a long time ago without telling him. No matter how much Shu asked, Habeen stubbornly refused to answer. What she wanted was for her father to put away his fake concern, not to question her like that. Seeing his daughter being so cold to him, like a stranger, Shu's heart ached. Even so, every day he tried to leave work as early as possible to be with his beloved daughter. That evening, when Chu entered Habeen's room to talk, he accidentally heard the phone vibrating from her school bag. What was particularly unusual was that his daughter was still lying in bed, engrossed in scrolling through another phone. Combining this with what had just happened at the police station a few days earlier, Chu could confirm that his daughter had stolen someone else's phone. Without thinking much, he immediately opened her school bag to check without asking permission. Just as he predicted, there was indeed a strange phone inside Habeen's school bag drawer. No matter how intensely her father questioned her, Habeen calmly replied that it was a friend's phone. For some unspoken reason, her friend had asked her to hold the phone for a few days. But when Tu asked her who she was holding the phone for, Habeen couldn't answer. Not only that, Habeen turned to blame her father for not having faith in his daughter. Although Habeen had appealed to her father's emotions, this time Shu quiet refused to give up. He insisted that she bring the owner of the phone to meet him to talk. Before that person comes to see him, he will be the one holding this mysterious phone. When he turned on the phone, he discovered that all the messages, call logs, and other data inside had been wiped clean. That night, he asked a friend to help him investigate the owner of the phone, but he didn't know that while he was talking on the phone with his friend, Habeen was eavesdropping behind the door. That night, when his father was fast asleep, Habeen sneaked into the room to retrieve the confiscated phone. At that moment, the phone received a text message with an unfriendly tone. The message seemed to be asking the owner of the phone to contact him immediately. The next morning, Tu saw his daughter rushing out of the house with a suitcase. He immediately chased after her, suspecting that his daughter had been seduced by bad girls and was preparing to run away from home. However, Habeen explained that she was just going on a school field trip and didn't think much of it. Tu immediately decided to drive his daughter to the school gate. Based on his professional habits, he carefully observed the subtle expressions on her face. From a distance, he saw her initially smile, then tightly purse her lips. This was exactly the sign of lying that he had seen at the police station. Soon after, the police officer at the station sent Chu the surveillance video from a subway. After watching, he realized that the phone wasn't actually stolen by his daughter. Realizing he had misunderstood his daughter, Tu could only force a smile. But that day, when she went out, she didn't answer his calls or messages. Tu paced around the house, his heart filled with unease, trying to guess and understand the thoughts in his daughter's inner world. In his dream, Chu seemed to see the image of his deceased wife appear. At this moment, his wife seemed to have read his thoughts. Although Chu was an excellent expert in criminal psychology, able to see through the thoughts of criminals in an instant, he was completely unable to understand his daughter. The next day, the police received a crime report and the scene was a warehouse located in the forest. Inside the warehouse, many large distorted marks were discovered and confirmed to be human remains. Based on the amount of distortion left behind, experts concluded that the victim had died. However, the body had not yet been found. After learning about the case, Jesus pleaded with his superiors to allow him to participate in the investigation. In fact, with his outstanding abilities, his superiors had planned to transfer Jesus to headquarters. But to be close to his daughter, he did not hesitate to give up a great career opportunity. He decided to stay in the local area to continue working. At the warehouse scene, Tu carefully observed every detail, not missing any small clue, as he always did in every case. That night, He had a strange dream. He saw his daughter, Habeen, entering this dangerous warehouse, waking up in the middle of the night. Tu wanted to text his daughter to apologize for his earlier suspicion. However, after thinking it over, he decided to delete each message. As night fell, Tu returned to the warehouse alone to investigate further. There, he shared his hypothesis with a new crime analyst at the police department. Tu concluded that the reason for the large quantity of shards in the warehouse was because the perpetrator had planned to dispose of the aquatic products there. However, the warehouse was not the initial crime scene. The disappearance of the body, according to him, may have been due to the perpetrator encountering an unexpected situation while handling it. This led to him being unable to complete his original plan. In addition, the distortion at the scene could hardly be used as evidence to incriminate the perpetrator. This shows that the perpetrator has a very good understanding of criminal investigation techniques. The deranged killer who specializes in harming others must have destroyed the car he used, because the car would contain traces such as fingerprints sufficient to identify him. Based on Tessu's analysis, the police began searching for this missing car. Sure enough, in the forest, the police found a car that had been burned not long ago. The on-site investigation showed that the car seemed to have crashed into a tree trunk in front, causing the person to be thrown out of the car. At the same time, a teacher at the school informed Tu that Habeen did not participate in the school field trip. Tessu also discovered that the phone that Mr. Tick had confiscated had been secretly retrieved by Habeen. While investigating in the forest during the day, Tessu received a message from his friend. The friend informed him that they had found the last known location where the phone was turned on. When Tessu looked at the location, he immediately panicked. The last place where the phone signal was detected was the forest where he was standing. Immediately, an overwhelming feeling of unease crept into his mind. To clarify, Tu took a sample of his own blood to compare with the blood sample found in the warehouse. The results showed that the DNA of the blood sample in the warehouse did not match Tessu's. This meant that the victim was not Habeen, and this brought him a temporary sense of relief. But soon after, he received a call from the hospital informing him that his daughter had been in a car accident. When he arrived at the hospital and saw his daughter lying on the hospital bed with an unusually calm demeanor, Tu remembered the last known location of his phone in the forest. Then, a dangerous thought gradually formed in his mind. The person not present at the crime scene during the time the incident occurred could only be the victim or the perpetrator. Excluding the possibility that Habeen was the victim, Tu was forced to suspect that perhaps his own daughter was the perpetrator of this crime. Even more suspicious was Habeen's car accident that evening, which led Tu to a bold hypothesis. Could this have been a staged accident to conceal something? In fact, Tu's suspicion was not unfounded at all. That evening, Habeen went to an intersection. She deliberately waited for the red light, then crossed the road just as a car was approaching, causing a collision. Her actions seemed intended to conceal some marks on her body. The day before, in the forest, the police found the burned car. The scene suggested the car had collided with someone. When thinking about this and connecting it to his daughter's incident, Jesus' suspicions grew. However, Habeen's injuries were not serious, so she was soon discharged from the hospital. After being discharged, Jesus took his daughter home so she could rest. At this time, he received a new message from the police station. They reported that they had found the person who rented the burned car. According to the surveillance camera footage, the person who rented the car was a young woman. Notably, Tessu recognized that the girl's clothing was identical to the clothes Habeen wore that day. In addition, the police also discovered a list of phone numbers that made and received calls near the crime scene on the day of the incident. When looking at the list, Tu was shocked to see his daughter's phone number on it. In addition, at the scene, the police found a red thread believed to have fallen from an item or piece of clothing belonging to the perpetrator. The next day, while his daughter was at school, Tu left work early and went to Habeen's room. At that moment, he noticed his daughter had placed a small piece of iron in the door crack, as if to check if anyone was sneaking into her room. Ignoring his daughter's precautions, Tessu decided to enter the room on his own, trying to find any item with red thread. Although he searched thoroughly, he found nothing suspicious. However, he discovered a drawer on Habeen's desk was carefully locked. While still confused, Tu heard Habeen's footsteps returning home. The moment Habeen reached the door, she saw the iron plate still in place, but when she looked up, she noticed a small pin attached to the doorframe had fallen to the ground. This immediately made her realize that her father had sneaked into her room while she was away. At the same time, Tessu also noticed Habeen's backpack because there was a small red woolen ornament on it. In that moment, Tessu almost couldn't control himself. He wanted to rush forward to question his daughter immediately, but after a moment of hesitation, he let go of the doorknob. Taesu's hesitation stemmed from the memory of a painful event in the past. Years ago, when the family was still harmonious and peaceful, he had a son. Many years ago, his son and Habeen, who was very young at the time, went into the forest to play. But a whole day passed and the two children did not return home. Finally, the police found Habeen in the forest, her whole body covered in scum. At the same time, the police found the cold body of a boy at the foot of the cliff, and it was Tu's son. Based on the clues at the time, Tu suspected that Habeen had harmed his younger brother. In his rage, he repeatedly questioned his young daughter. While the father and daughter were arguing, an object fell and accidentally injured them. His wife suddenly ran in and hugged him, terrified. At that moment, Hain said through tears that she didn't know. Recalling that incident, Hain was filled with regret for not trusting his daughter. Therefore, this time he decided to restrain his emotions and not question Hain immediately. At the same time, the police had collected more video from security cameras related to the person who rented the burned car. This time the image clearly captured the face of the person renting the car, so Tu saw and recognized that it wasn't Habeen but the young woman who had a conflict with his daughter at the police station named Songmin. Meanwhile, Tu's friend continued searching for information and found Songmin's social media account. To find out the truth, Tu pretended to be a flower buyer to contact the young girl. After some negotiation, the two sides decided to meet that evening. At the agreed location, Tu saw that the person who arrived was not Songmin, but Yazin, another girl who had been with the young girl before. And the person accompanying her was a young man named Minute, the two of them impersonating Songmin and Taesu. It was clear that they were planning to set fire to the customers. Seeing that the customers didn't show up, Yin and the man got into the car and left. At this time, Tu followed them but was unfortunately discovered by the man. The man drove away, and Tu, despite trying to chase after him, eventually lost sight of him. That night when he got home, Tu couldn't suppress the suspicions in his heart. He asked his daughter if she had met Minute again besides the time at the police station. Before Habeen could answer, Tu continued, saying that he knew she had intentionally jumped in front of the car to cause the accident. Unexpectedly, Habeen admitted to this but explained that she did it because since her mother's death she felt life had no meaning. Besides Rain, she insisted that apart from the time at the police station, she had never met Songmin. After saying this, Habeen burst into tears and expressed her wish that her father would try to trust her just once. The next day, the police checked the security cameras and discovered that Songmin had withdrawn a sum of cash from the ATM at the same time. The man who was with Yin the previous night was arrested by the police. When arrested, he was still packing his belongings, preparing to flee to somewhere. Therefore, the police suspected that he and Songmin had agreed on an escape plan and began questioning him about her hiding place. However, the man was very clever and refused to disclose any details. A newly arrived analyst discovered that Songmin had two social media accounts. One was a private account that she only shared with close friends, containing many selfies of her arms or legs. And one of them showed bruises on Songmin's arm. The analyst suspected that the young woman may have been beaten up by someone. However, Songmin's public account was completely different. It was full of photos showcasing her luxurious lifestyle, but there were no selfies of the girl. After further investigation, the analyst discovered that Songmin had previously purchased weight loss medication online. Even more surprisingly, this medication was used to treat diabetes. After hearing this information, Tu connected it with the forensic examination results. It turned out that the victim's body in the warehouse contained diabetes medication. From that, Tu was almost certain that the victim was in the warehouse. At the same time, Taesu's colleague caught the girl withdrawing money from the ATM. However, this girl was not Songmin but another girl. That's a member of the group of delinquent girls that Taesu was following last night, named Jigin. Before Yin was taken into the interrogation room, she tried to speak to Taesu privately. Because of what happened a few days ago at the police station, Yin knew Taesu was Habeen's father. She told Taesu that after the incident at the police station, Songmin said he wanted to see Habeen. Moreover, that day was also the last day she saw Songmin. Hearing this, he was almost frozen with shock at what he had just learned. That day, his daughter had clearly told him that after the incident at the police station, she hadn't seen Songmin again. If Yin wasn't lying, then the one lying was his daughter. She wanted to know why the two met, but Yin set a condition: he had to release her. If he didn't, she would tell everyone that Habeen had met Songmin. Furthermore, DNA evidence confirmed that the victim's birthmark in the warehouse belonged to Songmin. Subsequent investigation confirmed that after Songmin cheated her, Yin and the man took her money and tried to run away. Therefore, The police focused all their suspicion on this man and Yin. However, the police did not have enough evidence to charge the man, so they had to temporarily release him and continue investigating Ajin. During questioning, Yin did not reveal anything related to Habeen. At the same time, she also asserted that before the incident, she did not notice any abnormalities from the mines, so Tesu found every reason to release Yin on the spot. Yagin kept her promise and revealed the relationship between Habeen and Song Minute that day. Song Minute lost her phone and after calling back, discovered that she was the one who found it. To return it, the two girls arranged to meet, and the meeting day was the day the crime occurred. While Tu was busy dealing with the case, Habeen went to the police station and lied, saying she was there to bring her father some clothes. In reality, Habeen secretly looked at the case investigation documents on her father's desk at the police station. After reading them, she immediately returned home and burned the red ornament on her backpack. When he learned that his daughter had gone to the police station, Chu quickly realized that someone had flipped through the investigation documents. Combined with Yin's words, the suspicions he had tried to bury for so long resurfaced. In fact, there was a hidden secret behind his son's fall into the ravine many years ago. After that case, the police discovered a ribbon at the foot of the cliff. Tu recalled that when playing hide-and-seek, Habeen often used this ribbon to blindfold her younger brother in a chaotic stream of memories. Tu returned home and frankly questioned his daughter. He directly asked Song Minute if it was because of his daughter. Unexpectedly, Habeen retorted, "Dad, do you really think my brother's permanent departure was just an accident? Do you really believe that Mom's actions are not problematic?" Hearing his daughter's cold words and mocking question, an unprecedented fear arose in Tu's heart. At this moment, Captain O, the person in charge of investigating the case, came to Tesu's house. The captain discovered that the list of people who had been in contact with Song Minute included Habeen's name, but only now did the captain know that Habeen was Tesu's daughter. Then, Captain O asked Habeen about her alibi for the day of the crime. Habeen calmly asserted that she had never been to the forest where the crime occurred. Immediately afterward, she proactively explained her connection to Song Minute. According to Habeen, she only encountered Song Minute on the subway when she discovered her secretly taking someone else's phone. She intended to report it to the police, but a minor scuffle ensued, and that was all. Regarding the day the crime occurred, Habeen asserted that she had been with her boyfriend all day. Habeen's explanation was almost perfect because it had no loopholes. It left Captain O with no choice but to temporarily withdraw. However, Tu still didn't trust his daughter even a little. According to Yin, Habeen found Song Min's phone and they met to return it. Since that meeting, Song Minute has disappeared without a trace. Faced with his father's questioning, Habeen countered, "Every time a murder case happens, you suspect me. So what am I to you?" In response to that question, Tu could only remain silent and leave with a sorrowful expression. However, he was completely unaware that late at night, Habeen was secretly searching for articles related to herself on social media. To verify his daughter's statement, the next day, Tu went to Habeen's boyfriend to ask about it. The boyfriend confirmed that on the night of the crime, he and Habeen had been together in a room all night. In addition, he also told Tu that Habeen was a good girl and hoped that as a father, he would no longer doubt her. The teacher also had a similar positive opinion of her as her boyfriend. Soon after, Habeen's boyfriend told her about Tu's visit. After hearing this, Habeen just smiled meaningfully. She said that having a father who was a criminal psychology expert was also advantageous because it helped her to lie better. Then Tesu and Captain O checked the security cameras at the hotel. The results confirmed that Habeen did not leave her room on the day of the crime. That night, Habeen went alone to the locker area in the subway station and tried to enter the code to retrieve the items inside. When she returned home and saw her father's car parked outside, Habeen quietly approached it. It seemed she was carrying out some secret plan that no one knew about. During dinner, Tu, in a gentle tone, said that he would no longer doubt or hurt his daughter. Hearing this, Habeen suddenly mentioned that if her father decided to transfer back to headquarters, she was willing to leave with him. Not only that, she also used the excuse of wanting to change her living environment to start over. The next day, the police arrested a group of naive young teenagers. They were members of the same gang as Song Minute, runaway children who frequently committed robberies. During the interrogation, Tu noticed that the teenagers' testimonies were too consistent, clearly prepared beforehand. However, one girl in the group kept changing her testimony. Tu believed that this girl had a close relationship with Song Minute and could be the key to solving the case. So he decided to assign Jia Hong, a new analyst with good empathy, to interrogate the girl. With just a few gentle words of comfort, Jia Hong managed to get the girl to confide in him. According to her testimony, everything stemmed from a boy named Young Minute, who was also the leader of the group. After discovering that Minute had left the gang, Young Minute repeatedly threatened to harm her. Furthermore, Young Minute was not at home on the day of the incident. After hearing this, Shu concluded that whether Y Minute was the main culprit or not, he certainly did not act alone that day but had an accomplice. Based on the characteristics of the crime scene, Shu believed that the perpetrator had two opposing personalities, being both meticulous and disorganized. This proves that the crime was committed by two people with completely different personalities. Then, Tu ordered the investigation team to focus on those around Y Minute to find the mysterious accomplice. However, Tu, not wanting to continue suspecting his daughter, decided to withdraw from the case. That night, he contacted a real estate agent who planned to sell his deceased wife's house. He wanted to move with his daughter to the headquarters and start a new life. At that moment, Tesu unexpectedly received a call from the car owner. The owner said that on the night of the crime, he parked his car near the hotel where Habeen had stayed. The car owner provided Tesu with dashcam footage. After watching it, Tesu was utterly shocked because the video showed that Habeen had secretly left the hotel that night. The suspicion that Tu had previously dismissed resurfaced more intensely than ever. To verify the truth, he continued to seek out Habeen's boyfriend to question him. Finally, the boyfriend admitted that he had indeed left the hotel on the night of the crime. Through Habeen's teacher, Tu also learned about another female student with the same name as his daughter's boyfriend. The whole class knew that a girl named Soo-hyun was supposedly Habeen's best friend. But Soo-hyun had run away from home and her whereabouts were unknown. That evening, Tesu visited Soo-hyun's father at an old house. The other party revealed that whenever Habeen called, Soo-hyun would immediately go out. However, every time she returned, she looked very tired and exhausted. When Habeen returned home in the evening, Tu noticed that she had replaced the keychain on her backpack with a different one, a gift from her boyfriend. At this moment, Habeen brought up the topic of moving again and asked her father if he had made a decision. But this time, Shu changed his attitude, asserting that he wanted to finish the case in the forest before considering it further. Clearly, Jesus' suspicion of his daughter was growing. At the same time, Y went to the locker area at the subway station. Although he tried to enter the code to retrieve his belongings, he couldn't open the locker after many attempts. What Y Minute didn't know was that a few hours earlier, Habeen had taken all the money from the locker. At home, Habeen searched for articles related to the cases her father had solved. Then, she used a key to open a locked drawer. Inside the drawer was a large sum of money she had taken from a locker at the subway station. Soon after, Y sent a message with a picture of the money. The next morning, Habeen asked her father to drive her to the library. Initially, the girl said she wanted to talk on the way, but she remained silent throughout the journey. When they arrived, she simply said she hoped her father would solve the case successfully before getting out of the car. After getting out, Habeen didn't go to the library as planned but ran straight to the subway station. There, she met Yin, and it seemed there was some kind of deal between them. Unfortunately, Y Minute was arrested by the police right at the entrance of the subway station. In another development, after Habeen got out of the car, Tesu opened the glove compartment and discovered a red keychain belonging to her daughter. Tesu immediately connected this keychain to the red cloth that had been found at the crime scene in the forest. Earlier, to prevent Habeen from destroying the evidence, Jesus secretly replaced the keychain on his daughter's backpack with an identical fake. So the keychain that Habeen had burned was only a fake, while the real one was kept by Jesus. Later, he took this keychain for testing to compare it with the red cloth found at the scene. At the same time, he was preparing to interrogate Young Minute because he was currently one of the biggest suspects. But at this moment, the prosecutor's office appeared. They announced that they had received a complaint alleging that Tu had received bribes. After searching his car, they found a stack of cash that matched the amount mentioned in the complaint. Tesu was immediately suspended from his duties and forced to withdraw from the investigation of the case in the forest. Recalling his daughter's words in the car this morning, Tesu began to suspect that Habeen was behind the complaint. Because Tesu was removed from the investigation, the inexperienced new analyst was unable to deal with Y Minute and was forced to release him. Young Minute left the police station, just as Habeen was approaching. They looked at each other, and in that moment, a cold, triumphant smile appeared on Habeen's lips. Shortly after, the test results for the red keychain came in, and it perfectly matched the red fabric found at the crime scene in the forest. In addition, DNA matching the remains found in the forest was discovered on the keychain. Tests showed that these remains belonged to a different case, but the two cases had in common that they both involved the red keychain. The police believe that the perpetrator of both cases is most likely the same person. Then Captain O asked Tu about the origin of the keychain. Hearing this, Tu was silent for a long time with a look of astonishment and disbelief on his face. Finally, he lied, saying that the keychain belonged to a girl named Soo-hyun, who used to be a close friend of Habeen. However, Tae-soo did not mention that Soo-hyun had dropped out of school last year. She then disappeared, so it is very possible that she is the owner of the skeleton found in the forest. Not long after, Tae-soo received confirmation that the remains in the forest were indeed those of Soo-hyun. Furthermore, the victim's DNA was found on Habeen's keychain. Tae-soo was almost certain that his daughter was the murderer, Jip-soo-hun. Upon returning home, Tae-soo confronted his daughter and recounted what he had discovered that day. Then he frankly demanded that Habeen turn herself in. Despite her father's assertive words, Habeen maintained her usual calm demeanor. She said that he only believed what he wanted to believe and never trusted his daughter. After saying this, she said she would go change her clothes to prepare to turn herself in at the police station. However, just a few minutes later, a police car suddenly appeared in front of the house. It turned out that Habeen had called the police and falsely accused her father of molesting her. The police believed her and placed Habeen on the list of people needing protection. Sitting in the car, Habeen called her father and asked him, "Why have you never asked me the real reason why I did that?" Hearing her daughter's confusing words, Tae-soo's heart was filled with confusion and distress. Meanwhile, due to lack of evidence, Young Minute, the leader of the runaway youth group, was released. Immediately after leaving the police station, Young Minute walked towards Habeen, who was standing opposite him. However, Habeen, being extremely cautious and noticing that the police were following Young Minute, quickly sent a message cancelling the appointment and telling Young Minute to wait for her next message. Later, the police met with Y Minute and asked him if he knew Soo-hyun. Through investigation, they discovered that Soo-hyun and Song Minute, the victim in the previous case, were both members of the same runaway gang. However, Y Minute denied knowing Soo-hyun, and subtly reminded the gang members not to speak ill of the police. When Y Minute and the group members were taken to the police station for questioning, you realize that one person in the group was missing. This person was the girl who had helped the new analyst by revealing that Y Minute had no alibi. Last night, after being betrayed by this girl, Young Minute took cruel revenge. Every day, Young Minute and the group of teenagers lived in a basement rented by a beautiful landlady named Zung Hai. When Tae-soo went to Zung Hai to ask about ex-Hyun, she answered vaguely. However, Tae-soo noticed a clear wound on her neck. The next day, the bribery case that Tae-soo was falsely accused of was clarified. The investigation results proved that he was completely framed. Thanks to this, Tae-soo was allowed to return to investigate the case. Captain O reported that the interrogation of Y Minute was very difficult. Then, Tae-soo directly asked Y Minute if he knew Habeen. Y Minute did not hide anything, admitting that he had known for a long time that Habeen was the daughter of police officer Tae-soo. Finally, Young Minute immediately shifted the story, accusing Habeen of being the one who attacked Suan. Following this accusation, Tae-soo continued to question Young Minute relentlessly. Young Minute admitted that Suan was indeed a member of the gang he led. Tae-soo tried to extract more information from Young Minute, frankly stating that the police had found Suan's cold body. Hearing this, Young Minute became visibly agitated, even using a threatening tone. He said he was more curious about who had killed his subordinate, Song Minute. Clearly, Young Minute also suspected Habeen was the one who had helped Song Minute. Hearing this, Tu quickly calmed down and used his psychological analysis skills to counterattack. He spoke about Y Min's parents, deliberately touching on his pain. Sure enough, Y Min's emotions began to waver slightly. Seizing the opportunity, Tae-soo lied, saying that Soo-hyun's body was full of wounds. Y Minute immediately fell into the trap, laughed, and said, "The body has been lying in the ground for a year, how could there still be any marks?" This statement inadvertently betrayed him, because previously Tae-soo only said he found the body but didn't mention that it was buried. Realizing he had spoken carelessly, Y Minute silently gritted his teeth and said nothing more. However, due to insufficient evidence, his superiors ordered Y Min's release but instructed him to be closely monitored 24/7. After being released, Y Minute immediately returned to the organization's base and went into hiding. Zung Hai told Y Minute that the police had come to her to ask about ex-Hyun. Hearing this, Y Minute told her to keep everything absolutely secret. He also confirmed that Habeen was definitely the one who attacked Song Min, but she couldn't report him yet because the money was still in her possession. Finally, Young Minute promised Dong Hai that he would do everything to get the money back and then leave with her. Meanwhile, Captain O went to find Soo Hyun's homeroom teacher, Jin-tae, to ask about her friendships. Jin-tae lied, saying that Suan was an introvert and didn't have close friends. A little later, Habin stood on the stairs, bowing slightly to the homeroom teacher. It seems there's some kind of secret between the two of them. In the office, the head teacher sat deep in thought, staring at a blue woolen keychain on his desk. After some deliberation, he decided to put the keychain in his drawer. At night, Jin-tae quietly met with Zhang Hai, who had contact with Yin. He told Zhang Hai that the police had come to the school to ask him about Suan. During the conversation, both of them expressed worry about some secret being discovered. Zhang Hai gently hugged Jin-tae and comforted him, showing that their relationship was not normal. Meanwhile, Habin was contacting Y Minute to request a meeting tonight. Despite being closely monitored by the police, Habin confidently stated that she had a way to distract them. That same evening, the police received a report that Y Minute had overdosed on sleeping pills and had been hospitalized. Fearing trouble, the superiors ordered the withdrawal of all surveillance forces. Unbeknownst to anyone, in the hospital room, Young Minute had quietly changed into patient clothes and escaped. When Tae-shu arrived at the hospital, he only found the ward empty, and Young Minute had disappeared. At the same time, the analyst found a photo at Soo Hyun's house. In the photo, a girl standing next to Soo Hyun had her face scratched out. Looking at the photo, Tae-shu felt a sense of familiarity and vaguely realized that the girl whose face had been erased was his daughter. From here, Tae-shu asked a friend to look up the list of phone numbers that Habin had called most often last year. The results showed that Habin had frequently contacted two phone numbers. Interestingly, both numbers belonged to the same person, a woman named Jisoo. The woman whose name was on both phone numbers was Habin's mother and Tae-shu's ex-wife. Immediately, Tu tried calling one of the two numbers and discovered the truth. The phone connected to that number was in his daughter's locked drawer. When he opened the drawer, he found the phone along with a screenshot of the battery level taken with Soo Hyun. This was the same photo that had been found at Soo Hyun's house, with Habin's part in the photo scratched out. This confirms that the girl next to Soo Hyun is Habin. That night, as agreed, Young Minute went to a deserted forest. Upon seeing the forest before him, Young Minute felt extremely confused. He didn't know how he knew about this place. In fact, for the past year, Young Minute had often asked the female members of the gang, especially Song Minute, to come to this forest. He pointed to a tree tied with a red string and told Song Minute to take the money bag placed under the tree. Each time she completed a task, Young Minute would take out a stack of money from the bag to pay Song Minute. However, one day, Song Minute went to the tree as usual but couldn't find the money bag. She reported the matter to Young Minute, but he didn't believe her and thought Song Minute had embezzled the money. Because she was so angry, Y Minute slapped her without thinking. Unable to bear this abuse, Song Minute decided to secretly take Y Min's money bag and run away. She then hid the money bag in a locker at the subway station. One day, Song Minute followed the money bag onto the subway without knowing that Habin was secretly watching her. Habin witnessed the entire scene of Song Minute hiding the money bag in the locker. Since then, Habin has been closely monitoring Song Min's every move. Not long after, one day, while Song Minute was pickpocketing someone's phone on the subway, Habin deliberately turned on the police alarm on her phone to pretend someone was reporting a crime. Then she approached Song Minute, pretending to be kind and offering to help her hide in a nearby hotel. At the hotel, Habin deliberately tried to win Song Min's favor, pretending to be a runaway herself. She even asked for Song Min's phone number to stay in touch later. Song Minute refused to leave her contact information, but Habin immediately changed her approach. She immediately reported to the police to expose her stealing other people's belongings. The matter was brought to the police station, and during the information gathering process, they obtained Song Min's name and ID number. A few days later, Habin secretly took Song Min's phone and installed a tracking device on it. Then, she contacted Song Minute saying she wanted to meet to return the phone. At this time in the forest, Y Minute approached Habin wanting to learn more information. Y Minute questioned why Habin had done all these things, but without waiting for Habin's answer, he deduced and guessed that it was all related to her deceased mother. Then, Y Minute admitted that he had extorted money from Habin's mother. Hearing this, Habin immediately questioned the reason, so Y Minute showed her a video. In the video, Habin's mother was digging in the forest, and next to her was a cold body. Even more coincidentally and surprisingly, it was Soo Hyun, Habin's friend. That year, Y Minute accidentally saw Habin's mother burying someone's body and secretly filmed it. Now he's using that video to threaten Habin, demanding that he return the money he took from him. While the two were arguing, a mysterious person wearing a helmet appeared and helped Habeen subdue Yang Min at this point. Habeen rushed home but found that his father had broken the lock on the drawer and the phone inside was gone. At the same time, Tu took his daughter's phone to the repair shop because he wanted to know the secret inside. While waiting for the phone to be repaired, Habeen sent the video from Wai Min's phone to her father. Then she questioned Soo Hyun about his name and his relationship with her mother. But Taesoo couldn't answer. When the phone was repaired, the technician said there was a location tracking app inside. This app is usually for two people to use so that the two devices are connected. After checking the information, Taesoo discovered that the tracked phone number belonged to Habeen's mother. Following the location signal, Taesoo arrived at a large shopping mall. Following the staff's directions, he discovered that Habeen had just gone to a psychological clinic. There, Tu inquired with the doctor and learned that his daughter had come to see her mother's treatment records. Then Tu was shocked to learn that his wife had been treated for depression there before she passed away. Leaving the shopping mall, Habeen suddenly realized someone was following her. Moreover, this person was the mysterious helmet wearer from the other day. After driving a short distance, Habeen got out of the car to confront the mysterious person and asked for their identity. However, the helmet wearer suddenly ran away without saying a word. Meanwhile, Wai Minute returned to the basement, the group's gathering place. He suspected Sung Hai, who had contact with him, was the mysterious person wearing the helmet. Because of the meeting with Habeen on the mountain, Young Minute only revealed it to Sung Hai. However, Sung Hai denied it, saying that everything had nothing to do with him. Afterwards, Young Minute asked Sung Hai to sell the house to raise enough money to escape. He planned to leave as soon as he got the money back from Habeen, but Wai Minute was completely unaware that Jinte had secretly taken pictures of his meeting with Habeen in the forest last night. To investigate the case, two analysts under Taesoo's supervision went to the school to find Jinte. However, they were informed that he had unexpectedly taken leave. This aroused suspicion among the analysts. Since the police contacted Jinte, he seems to have completely changed his lifestyle, showing many suspicious signs. In addition to approaching Jinte, the police continue to closely monitor Wai Minute. The person suspected of being involved in the case was tracked, and they discovered that Wai Minute had gone to the mountains to meet someone. At this location, music, investigators found 3 completely different footprints. 2 footprints belonged to Wai Minute and a man, and the rest likely belonged to a woman. Coincidentally, this area is where Soo Hyun's body was found. The analyst concluded that choosing this location for the meeting suggests that all 3 likely knew Suan. Through the neighborhood security, the police learned that Wai frequently visited Jintae's house at night to cause trouble. This proves that Wai Minute and Jinte knew each other before. At the same time, Tu received a recording of his wife's psychological treatment at the clinic. Thanks to this, he also discovered the secrets that both his wife and daughter had been hiding from him all this time. Before she passed away, his wife was very happy because her daughter Habeen had finally made a close friend. Before that, for many years, Habeen was always different from other children. She didn't laugh when watching movies, always played alone, had a cold and detached mindset, and didn't socialize with her peers at all. After many years of trying, on Habeen's birthday, her daughter brought a friend home to play for the first time, and that friend was Soo Hyun. To celebrate a special day, Habeen's mother prepared a lavish meal for her daughter and Soo Hyun. At the birthday party, Soo Hyun gave Habeen a red knitted keychain. Habeen's mother gave Soo Hyun a new mobile phone. She hoped that her daughter's condition would gradually improve after this attention and positive changes. However, things took a turn for the worse. In the following days, the mother discovered that Habeen frequently skipped her extra classes. She often came home late and started associating with teenagers who had bad behavior. It seemed Habeen was trying to find someone without telling her mother. Worried about her daughter, the mother decided to meet Soo-hee to find out what was going on. Unexpectedly, Soo Hyun frankly stated that the person Habeen was looking for was herself. However, instead of confronting her, Suan chose to avoid her, skipping school, not answering calls, and avoiding meeting her. When Habeen's mother asked for the reason, Suan insisted that she already knew the cause. This confused her, but at the same time, she understood Suan's meaning. Habeen was not normal. Because she was determined to help her daughter return to normal, the mother asked Habeen not to contact Suan anymore. However, Habeen firmly objected, insisting on meeting Soo-hee. During the music argument, Habeen noticed the trembling in her mother's actions, as if she was afraid of her. This made Habeen even more certain that her mother also suspected her. She also thought that Habeen was the one who caused her brother's accident years ago, just like her father had thought. Faced with Habeen's fierce questioning, the mother stood silently, not knowing how to respond. Through the crack in the door, she saw her daughter losing control, wildly smashing things in the room. From that day on, the relationship between mother and daughter became extremely strained. After some time, the mother went to see a psychologist for advice. Then she burst into tears and recounted that her daughter had helped a dog, but when she discovered she had helped bury the dog, she cried in despair as she spoke, admitting that she didn't know how to face her increasingly erratic daughter. After listening to the recording of his wife's therapy session, Chu realized that the dog his daughter was supposed to have disposed of might not have existed at all. Moreover, the real victim is most likely Soo-hyun, and the cold body that his wife buried was probably that of the unfortunate schoolgirl. Recalling Wai Min's words from a few days ago, Tu suddenly felt that the details about Habeen constantly clinging to Wai Minute might be the key to solving all these mysteries. So, Taesu returned to the police station and requested a search for Wai Min's whereabouts, also citing a clue from the surveillance camera of Jintae's apartment. The surveillance camera showed that last night, Jintae left his apartment wearing rain boots. This was clearly unusual. Taesu immediately requested an investigation of the surrounding areas, especially places where people might fish, as he suspected these signs were related to another case. Meanwhile, at a fishing spot, Jintae dreamed that his hands were covered in shards of flesh. When he woke up from the nightmare, Dong-hae suddenly appeared. Jintae, in a pessimistic tone, said that he now only wanted to tell the truth because he felt overwhelmed by guilt and confusion. Dong-hae tried to comfort him and advised him to keep the secret for a while longer, even if only to preserve his current life. However, the scene of the two meeting was secretly watched and photographed by Young Minute. Seeing his woman secretly meeting Jintae at night, Young Minute became enraged, grabbed Jintae, and beat her up wildly. Just then, the police suddenly appeared, so Young Minute quickly ran away, but Tu drove up in his car and rammed into him. Chu immediately questioned Wai Minute about the video of his wife burying the body. Then Chu asserted that his wife was not the murderer but only buried the body. The real killer of Suan was Wai Minute, and his wife had mistaken her daughter for the murderer. However, Wai Minute vehemently denied any involvement. Hearing this, Tu changed tactics and threatened young Wai Minute not to appear in front of his daughter again. That night, Jintae was summoned by the police for questioning. However, he remained stubbornly silent and did not reveal any secrets. Tu felt helpless in the face of the witnesses' silence and the fragmented clues left by the case. At this point, Tu's spirit had almost completely collapsed. Back home, he clutched the family photo in his hand, recalling his wife's recording from the therapy session. In it, his wife had said that Habeen might be different from other children, but she absolutely could not harm her younger brother. She also said that because she didn't want to become a suspicious person like her husband, and also didn't want Tu's suspicion to hurt their daughter, she had decided to divorce him. Remembering these words and seeing the picture of his wife and daughter, Tu's tears flowed uncontrollably. That evening when Habeen returned home, Tu frankly shared his thoughts. He believed that his daughter was associating with immoral girls to avenge her mother. However, now Tu hoped Habeen would tell the whole truth. He promised his daughter that from now on, whatever she said, he would believe her. But even so, Habeen remained silent because she didn't trust her father. It turned out that on the day her mother died, Habeen had witnessed her parents arguing like a demon. He coldly pushed her desperate mother to the brink. Tu remained silent, not answering the question. He didn't refute it, but only said, "Wait for me, son, because I will definitely investigate everything to find out the truth." Habeen didn't know that Tu's silence was actually to protect her. One night a few years ago, Tu returned home and discovered a strong smell of gas in the air. He hurriedly opened the window to ventilate the room, and at the same time discovered his daughter lying unconscious. After helping his daughter regain consciousness, Tu found his wife sitting motionless in the living room with a vacant look in her eyes. He immediately understood that his wife had lost control and done something foolish in the face of Taesu's questioning. His wife began to talk about their son's case from many years ago, although she tried to convince herself that her son had nothing to do with Habeen, but deep down she sometimes still suspected her little daughter. That suspicion tormented the mother's spirit, making her unable to bear it and leading to a foolish act that night. In a moment of anger, she blurted out, "Even if you have bad thoughts, you shouldn't drag your daughter into it." Habeen, who had just woken up, overheard this, causing her to misunderstand her father. But in fact, Tu's words didn't stop there, because after his anger subsided, he tried to reassure his wife. "If you really leave this world, Habeen will have to live alone. I am her father, but she has never really been close to me." Hearing this, his wife came to her senses, took Shu's hand, and instructed her husband, "What happened tonight? Please never tell Habeen about it. I don't want her to be hurt because of me." It was because of that promise that Shu decided to remain silent, even though this caused her daughter to become increasingly distant. Meanwhile, the mysterious case is still under endless investigation. The permanent departure of Song Minute, the spoiled girl, and Soo-hyun, Habeen's best friend, remains unexplained. Taesu realized he needed to focus his investigation on why, the delinquent youth involved in many suspicious activities. Meanwhile, Captain Oh had obtained permission to search Wai Min's lodging, and Taesu participated in the search. Discovering suspicious points in the basement where the delinquent youths resided, Taesu began to suspect that Zhang Hai and Wai Minute had a private relationship. When questioned, Zhang Hai appeared tense, insisting that their relationship was merely a normal rental arrangement. But in reality, as soon as the police left, young Minute called her phone. Seeing Zhang Hai hesitate to answer, young Minute became furious. Meanwhile, Habeen was near the area and realized she had been followed for several days by a man wearing a helmet and riding a motorcycle. To find out the man's identity, Habeen called the police to report that someone was drunk driving a motorcycle. The police quickly responded, blocked the vehicle, and forced the man to stop. Having no other choice, he took off his helmet. Habeen looked at the man in front of her and realized it was a middle-aged stranger she had never met before. Then Habeen questioned the other man about why he was following him. He said he was looking for the person who had harmed his daughter. Then it was the other man's turn to ask Habeen some related questions. He suspected Wai Minute was the culprit and mentioned that Tu had secretly released him. Just like Habeen's recent constant surveillance of Yin, the man didn't understand why Habeen and her father had such contradictory attitudes towards Yin. However, Habeen didn't give an answer because she herself had only just learned that her father had released Yin. A few days later, one evening, Habeen questioned Taesu, wanting to know why her father, a police officer, had secretly released Yin. She suspected her father was hiding something, but Shu, wanting to protect his daughter, was forced to lie. He said that Zun was murdered by his own wife and that releasing Wai Minute was to cover up this truth. But Habeen didn't stop there. She continued to ask about the night her mother died. She wanted to know why her father hadn't told her that he had met her mother that evening. Tu had to lie again, explaining that he was about to be promoted and didn't want his wife's situation to affect his career. Habeen remained silent in response to her father's explanation. She didn't know that in the darkness, Tu was suffering so much that he was crying but still couldn't tell the truth. The secrets of the case and the strained relationship between father and son became an unsolvable mess. Meanwhile, Tu's continued his investigation. He sought out a troubled young woman to inquire about Wai Min's whereabouts. During the interrogation, Tu's did not hesitate to exploit the girl's weaknesses. He hinted that if she did not cooperate, he would take her home. This meant she would have to face abuse from her stepfather. Finally, when cornered, the girl had to tell the truth. She revealed that Wai Minute had feelings for Zhang Hai, but she had another boyfriend. After Wai Minute found out about this, he became angry and physically assaulted Zhang Hai. Then Chu showed a picture of a man and asked the girl, "Is this Zhang Hai's boyfriend?" The girl nodded, and this made Chu seem to have a hunch because the person in the picture was Jin-tae. That night, young Minute called Zhang Hai again, but she still deliberately ignored him. Unexpectedly, Wai Minute suddenly appeared behind her like a ghost, as usual. He pulled her aside and questioned her about who had actually harmed Soo-hyun. It turned out that Zhang Hai had previously told Wai Minute that she had witnessed Habeen's mother killing Suan. However, after the conversation in the forest with Habeen, young Minute knew that her mother was not the culprit at all. Immediately afterwards, young Minute mentioned Jin-tae's name. Young Minute believed that the real Diep Suan was this teacher, and that Zhang Hai had used him to hide her boyfriend from the police. The more young Minute spoke, the angrier he became, feeling foolish for ever having considered helping her elope. Betrayed by the woman he loved, young Minute declared that he could not accept defeat easily, and moreover, he would not let Zhang Hai and Jin-tae achieve their goal. Then Tu went to find Jin-tae and took him to the police station to cooperate with the investigation. But as soon as he received a call, Jin-tae hurriedly left without saying another word. Moreover, the caller was his girlfriend, Zhang Hai. When Jin-tae arrived at the meeting place, young Minute emerged from the shadows. He called him a murderer and threatened to tell the truth to the police. However, Jin-tae calmly replied that Wai Minute had no evidence and the police would never believe the words of a homeless person. Hearing this, young Minute became enraged and attacked Jin-tae. Seeing her boyfriend beaten to the point of near death, in a panic, Chong Hai rushed to hug young Minute tightly and begged him to stop. Seeing the woman he loved shedding tears of heartbreak for another man, young Min's heart was filled with bitterness. That night, a man wearing a helmet came to see Jin-tae. However, Jin-tae asked the man not to do anything to protect her. The man refused because he was Jin-tae's biological father. The truth is revealed. The real culprit who harmed the young girl is Jin-tae. The man in the helmet, speaking with determination, tells his son that he has a plan to protect him. After releasing Zhang Hai and Jin-tae, young Minute contacts the police. He says he has an important clue to report. Then he contacted Taesu again and suggested meeting to talk. Not only that, young Minute also assured her that he would tell everything he knew. At the same time, the man in the helmet met Habeen and revealed to her where young Minute was. In the dark night, Habeen went to meet young Minute before her father. Young Minute was slightly surprised, but before he could react, Habeen used a tool to harm him. She questioned him about whether it was her mother who had killed Suan. Seeing Habeen act without hesitation, young Minute had no choice but to tell the truth. Her mother mistakenly thought that her daughter had killed someone, so she buried Suan's body. A while later, Tu received a phone call from Y Minute saying that he had told Habeen everything. Otherwise, Habeen might do something reckless and chase after him. Worried that his daughter would act rashly, Tu rushed to see Y Minute, but when he arrived, he found Y Minute lying in a puddle of mud and already dead. Moreover, Habeen's daughter was standing there at the scene, her hands covered in mud. At this point, the police had surrounded the entire area where the horrific crime occurred. Tu had to face the choice of revealing the truth or continuing to protect his daughter. Time was running out for him because Captain O had led the police force to surround the scene. In a panic, a father's instinct drove T. Shu to act before Captain O stormed in. He pulled his daughter away from the scene. On the way home, Tu questioned Habeen about why she was at the scene where young Minute was harmed. Hearing this, Habeen affirmed that her father still doubted her. However, Tu, in a sincere tone, declared that he would completely trust his daughter from now on. Upon returning home, Habeen recounted to her father that when she arrived at the scene, young Minute was already dead. She had met young Minute to ask him about the identity of Soo-hyun. Habeen's mother, believing that her daughter had murdered Soo-hyun, buried the body and lost her mind, leading to Habeen's erratic behavior. Only by finding the culprit behind Soo-hyun's death could she give her mother an explanation. When he heard his daughter's account, Tu hid his daughter's stained clothes and the knife she used in a drawer. Then he rushed to the crime scene of Y Minute as if nothing had happened. The police discovered that young Min's body had 2 wounds from 2 different tools. Therefore, they suspected that the murderer might be 2 people. While examining the crime scene, Taesu found a necklace and realized it was his wife's memento. Moreover, it was also the item his daughter Habeen often wore. While he was thinking about how to handle it, an analyst happened to come by. With no other option, Taesu had to put the necklace in the evidence bag. The next day, at the police station, a meeting about Y Min's case was held. Taesu heard from a colleague that on the day Y Min's incident occurred, Jin-tae had met with the victim. Furthermore, this information was obtained from the testimony of Zhang Hai's son. As soon as he heard this, Taesu immediately left the police station to go and meet Jin-tae. Then he asked him why he met Y Minute that night. But Jin-tae didn't answer and changed the subject. He said that he had seen Habeen at the scene of Y Min's crime. Tu frowned, trying to remain calm, and asked Jin-tae to come to the police station to cooperate with the investigation. Upon returning to the police station, Captain O immediately sought out Taesu for a private conversation. He just discovered that Taesu's phone number was in Y Min's call history. Then Captain O asked why Taesu was hiding his contact with young Minute. Taesu replied that Y Minute had contacted him to confess and arrange a meeting, but ultimately he didn't show up. However, Taesu didn't mention any suspicions related to Habeen's daughter. Although Captain O was unhappy about Tu's independent actions, he did not pursue the matter further. The reason Tu acted alone and contacted Y Minute may be related to his daughter. During the investigation, the analyst discovered that Habeen and Soo-hyun were close friends. When questioning Y Minute, he also mentioned that he knew Tu. The analyst suspected that the two knew each other because of Habeen's daughter. So she immediately suggested investigating Habeen to find more clues. However, at that moment, another analyst named Jia Hong interrupted. He showed a recording of a call that Y Minute had made to the police station earlier. During the call, young Minute asked for Taesu's phone number. Jia Hong argued that if Taesu and young Minute had actually known each other before, they should have each other's phone numbers. After hearing Jia Hong's reasoning, Captain O temporarily decided to trust Tesu and disagreed with the proposal to investigate Habeen. Meanwhile, Jin-tae was on his way to see his father, Mr. Jong. Unexpectedly, there he heard Mr. Dong reveal that Habeen was the one who killed young Minute, and that he was an eyewitness. Mr. Dong also advised Jin-tae to keep his distance from his girlfriend, Sung-hai, because Sung-hai had witnessed Jin-tae killing the promiscuous girl Song Minute that night. Mr. Dong was worried that this woman would betray his son. However, Jin protected and trusted his girlfriend. He warned his father not to interfere in his affairs, otherwise he would sever their father-son relationship again. Even so, to protect his son, Mr. Dong still acted as he pleased. The next day, he secretly went to see Sung-hai without telling his son. In front of Sung-hai, Mr. Dong pretended to be Song Min's father. Then he threatened her, demanding that she tell the truth about what happened on the day Song Minute was kidnapped. Mr. Dong believed that Sung-hai, the manager of the delinquent teenagers living in the basement, was the one who knew Song Minute best. In fact, a few days earlier, Sung-hai had received a call from Song Minute. The girl said she would come back to get some things. But at that time, Sung-hai's son had a fever, so she hurriedly took him to the hospital. Therefore, she asked Jin-tae to wait for Minute to open the door for her. When she returned home in the evening, Sung-hai unexpectedly discovered her boyfriend raping Minute. However, to protect her boyfriend, Sung-hai lied in front of Mr. Jong. She said that she had given Song Minute the house door password. Moreover, on that day, young Minute kept searching for Song Minute, even saying he would harm the unfortunate girl. Clearly, Chong 11 is trying to blame young Minute to cover up for her boyfriend. When Jin-tae found out that her father had secretly met Chong 11, she was extremely angry. Mr. Dong questioned Jin-tae about whether Song Minute was really raped by her son. He couldn't understand why his son, a teacher, would do such a thing. Jin-tae admitted to the act. She impersonated a police officer and contacted a youth welfare center. Habeen discovers that Song Min's parents passed away a long time ago, so the man claiming to be Min's father is a fake. Then Habeen goes to the police station and reports that she was attacked by a motorcyclist. Then she tries to trick the police into leaving so she can secretly check the results. Finally, she discovers that the man she was looking for was him. That night, Tesu called his daughter and said that someone had seen Y Minute at the crime scene. Her father's words made Habeen even more suspicious of him. That night, she secretly went to the hotel where Mr. Dong was staying. However, after searching for a while, she found her phone in Mr. Trong's drawer. This phone reminded Habeen of what had happened in the forest a few days earlier. That night, Habeen was being chased by a driver, so in a panic, she jumped onto a small hill in the forest to hide. Even more surprisingly, the driver who got out was Mr. Dong. In his haste, Habeen dropped his phone, and Mr. Dong picked it up. Soon after, the phone received a message asking Mr. Dong to answer the sender's call. If he didn't comply, the secret in the forest would be exposed. When Habeen saw the phone, he suddenly realized. Besides this phone, she also found a stack of envelopes in Mr. Jong's room. Moreover, the recipient's name on those envelopes was Jin-tae. At this point, Habeen realized the relationship between Mr. Jong and Jin-tae. That same night, Jin-tae met his girlfriend. He explained that his father was the one who came to see her that morning. Furthermore, he also admitted that after his girlfriend left, Jin-tae met young Minute. Meanwhile, at the police station, investigators unexpectedly discovered that according to surveillance cameras, at the time Y Minute was harmed, Sung-hai was present near the scene. Captain O considered Sung-hai to be the perpetrator of Y Min's assault and decided to arrest her. During the interrogation, Sung-hai still defended her boyfriend and did not reveal the truth about the meeting between Jin-tae and Yin. However, shortly afterward, Jin-tae came to confess and brought evidence. When Mr. Dong learned that his son had confessed, he was extremely worried and insisted that his son could not have been the one to kill Y Minute the night before. Mr. Dong had witnessed Habeen standing beside young Min's body, his whole body contorted. Meanwhile, the police investigation has also made new progress. Camera footage shows that on the night Y Minute was involved in the incident, a motorcycle appeared near the scene. Captain O suspects the person on the motorcycle is Jin-tae's accomplice. However, Tesu realizes that Habeen was sitting on the back of that motorcycle. Upon returning home, Tesu immediately shares her deductions with her daughter. He believes that on the day Song Minute was murdered, Habeen was present in the forest. But she was not the killer, but merely a witness who saw the incident. After the incident, Habeen did not rush to clear her name in front of her father. He believes that his daughter's actions were to quickly find the culprit who harmed Jin-tae before he could. He also knew that after finding the culprit, she would personally help that person. After analyzing the situation, Tu asked his daughter about the identity of the motorcycle driver, but Habeen refused to answer. Having no other choice, Tu unexpectedly took out handcuffs. That same night, Tu received a message from an anonymous person. Inside was a distorted full-body photograph of his daughter standing next to Wai Min's body. The photograph was sent by Mr. Dong to threaten Tesu, demanding the release of his son, otherwise he would publicly reveal the photograph. A few minutes earlier, the son of the man in the helmet had come to the police station to surrender. He admitted that he was from Yang Minute. However, the analysts did not believe Jintae's words, because the crime scene had traces of 2 murderers. The evidence at the scene proved that this was a carefully planned crime, not a crime committed out of anger as Jintae said. A female analyst took out a photograph in which Mr. Dong and a girl were sitting on a motorcycle. Upon seeing that photo, Jintae suddenly had unusual reactions. The female analyst suspected that the real killer was the man on the motorcycle. Moreover, the girl sitting behind the motorcycle was the owner of the necklace at the scene. Although he knew that the girl sitting behind the motorcycle was his daughter, he said nothing in front of his colleagues. While Jintae was being interrogated, Habeen went to the police station and Tu secretly met with his daughter. He told her about the photo and hoped she would be honest about the identity of the man in the helmet. Otherwise, she would sooner or later be investigated and considered a suspect. However, Habeen refused to speak and instead asked her father to share the progress of the investigation with her. To protect his daughter, Tesu personally questioned the teacher Junit. Tesu believed that Junit was not the one harming others but was covering for someone else. Since Junit refused to tell the truth, Tesu directly called his girlfriend to the scene. Standing before them, he presented his analysis of the recent clues. Tesu suspected that the real killer of Wai Minute was Zhang Hai. When Jintae saw her fleeing the scene, he decided to help the woman he loved take the blame. Still wanting to protect his loved one, Jintae continued to take the blame himself. He even said that he helped Wai Minute because the other party already knew about his plan to harm Minute. There was no other way, so he had to kill someone to silence them and verify Jintae's words. That night, Tu and his colleagues went to a forest. According to Jintae, this was where he said he had buried Min's body. However, when they arrived, they discovered that a new hole had been dug in the ground and the body had been removed. The one who dug up the body was not Jintae but his father, Mr. Dong, to protect his sinful son. Mr. Dong decided to take the body elsewhere and completely destroy it. Seeing that Song Min's cold body had not yet decomposed, Mr. Dong hesitated for a while, and finally he took an axe and planned to dismember the body. Only then could he ensure that no one would find out. Based on surveillance cameras, the police identified Mr. Jong, and concluded that he was Jintae's accomplice. After investigation, the police discovered a father-son relationship between Mr. Dong and Jintae, but they still haven't found Mr. Dong's whereabouts, so they can't do anything else. At the same time, to pressure T. Shu to release his son, Mr. Dong sent a photo to the police. It showed Habeen at the crime scene. However, the photo was torn in half, only revealing his death. Mr. Dong sent the photo along with a request and continued to contact T. Shu, urging him to release his son immediately. Tesu explains the situation, saying that since Jintae had voluntarily turned himself in, he didn't know what else to do. However, Mr. Dong didn't care, as he was certain his son was innocent. He then demanded that Tesu release his son by any means necessary. For Tesu, the only way to protect his daughter was to overturn Jintae's testimony. It must be proven that the person who harmed Wai Minute and Song Minute is actually someone else. Only then can he release Jintae legitimately. Meanwhile, Tu still considers Jintae's girlfriend, Zhang Hai, as a suspect in these 2 cases. Coincidentally, the 3 deceased, including Su Hyun, all lived in Zhang Hai's basement. Moreover, Zhang Hai's husband had also passed away. After his death, Zhang Hai inherited her husband's house. The investigation revealed that all 4 of them lived in the same place before their deaths, so it was difficult for the police not to suspect Zhang Hai. Meanwhile, T. Shu once again personally went to interrogate Jintae. When he saw his girlfriend had become a suspect, Jintae finally confessed the truth. He told Tu that he had helped Minute because he wanted to rape her, and when she resisted, he acted very violently. In his confession, Jintae was full of remorse, almost sobbing, as if he were telling the truth. However, according to the criminal analysis, Tu still felt suspicious of Jintae. After hearing this, Captain O immediately refuted Jesus' viewpoint. Furthermore, the 2 analysts also suggested that Jesus might have been wrong in his analysis this time. While the case reached a deadlock, The relationship between Tu and his daughter also began to change. To prevent his daughter from getting into danger, that evening, Tu decided to tell her the whole truth. He gave her a USB drive containing a recording of his wife before she passed away while undergoing psychological treatment. It included her mother's words about the truth she longed to know. Listening to her mother's words in the recording, Habeen learned that her mother had always been tormented by the fact that her younger brother had fallen into a ravine. Her mother had even doubted her, just as her father had doubted her. At that time, she made the decision to divorce because her mother wanted to put an end to that suspicion. The decision to question herself was due to the guilt of doubting her own daughter. After listening to her mother's recording, Habeen suddenly burst into tears. Late at night, Tae-shu returned home to find his daughter sleeping peacefully. He felt a long-lost sense of peace. When Habeen woke up, Tu immediately apologized to his daughter. If he hadn't been the first to suspect his daughter, his wife wouldn't have been affected and become suspicious of their daughter. Habeen asked her father why he didn't let her listen to these recordings sooner. But Tu replied sincerely that he simply didn't want his daughter to hate him. Moreover, he wanted to cherish the opportunity to live with his daughter that he had worked so hard to obtain. The next morning, Tu prepared breakfast and was about to knock on the door to wake his daughter, but he found her already dressed in her uniform, with a serene expression on her face as if she had been freed. In her father's car, Habeen told Tu that she had decided to let go, no longer wanting revenge for her mother. She didn't want to ruin the life her mother had hoped she would live well. He promised his daughter he would catch the murderer. At her music school, Habeen suddenly started talking naturally with her classmates because she had decided to return to being a normal student. At that moment, the sound from her headphones rang out. It was the voice of her friend Soo-hyun. Habeen looked out at the schoolyard, seemingly seeing Soo-hyun waving at her. At that moment, a faint smile, one she had never shown before, appeared on her lips. Meanwhile, in the forest where the body was initially discovered, Captain Oh found Song Min's body, which he had hidden. The autopsy results confirmed that Song Minute was not strangled to death. This completely contradicts Jin-tae's initial confession. At this moment, the necklace found at the scene is also being investigated, and the buyer is Tae-soo's wife. Captain Oh suddenly remembers that a few days earlier, the female analyst had suspected Tae-soo's daughter. He decides to meet with her to ask if there's any other reason behind the suspicion regarding Habeen. After hearing this, the female analyst immediately took Captain O to the forensic lab. The forensic doctor examined a broken cup and confirmed that the DNA on it perfectly matched the necklace found at the crime scene. The female analyst had previously suspected that Habeen had deliberately invited Habeen for tea to obtain a DNA sample. Habeen was very careful, perfectly concealing her acquaintance with Y. However, she accidentally broke a glass. And now, this DNA match leaves no doubt. It proves that Habeen was present at the crime scene on the night of Yang Minch. At the same time, Tae-soo is interrogating Jin-tae and presenting Song Min's physical examination report. After seeing the report confirming that Song Minute was not strangled, Jin-tae also felt confused. He confessed to Tae-soo that he had actually drunk a little alcohol on the day of the crime. After waking up, he found Song Minute lying dead in his bed. His first reaction was to assume that he hadn't done it. However, Zhang Hai suddenly burst in, claiming that perhaps because of the alcohol, he didn't realize he had killed someone, just like his father. That night, Jin-tae believed his girlfriend and didn't report it to the police. Just as Chu was about to make his final judgment, Captain O called him outside and gave him a photo of Habeen present at the crime scene of Wai Minning. Captain O says that from now on Habeen will be a suspect in Wai Min's case and Tae-soo must withdraw from the investigation. In front of his superior, Tae-soo strongly argues, claiming the photo is not direct evidence and hopes to continue pursuing the case. In the interrogation room, Jin-tae begins to have doubts about this mysterious case. After an analysis from Zhu, Jin-tae recalled some events. The night after Min's death, Sung Hai acted quite suspiciously. So Jin-tae requested to speak with Tu privately. The captain had no choice but to allow Tu to interrogate him for 2 hours. Meanwhile, the police discovered that the photo sent was from Mr. Dong. Captain O suspected that Tu was being psychologically threatened by Mr. Dong. Therefore, he changed his attitude and resolutely refused to allow Tu to participate in the interrogation anymore. At the same time, they also brought Habeen to the police station as a suspect. At this point, Mr. Dong suddenly called the police and revealed the truth. On the day Song Minute died, he had personally seen Habeen at the scene. After questioning Habeen's classmates, analysts discovered that on the night Song Minute died, Habeen had secretly left the hotel rooftop. Therefore, both cases involving Yang Minute and Song Minute made Habeen a suspect. In the interrogation room, the analyst mentioned a photo of Habeen appearing next to Yin. Habeen reacted extremely calmly, admitting that she had abducted Y and hit him in the knee. But she did not commit murder as the police alleged. When asked about her presence at the scene where the 2 minutes were buried in the forest, Habeen calmly replied that she was just an ordinary witness. The analyst continued to ask, "If you were just a witness, why did you create an alibi?" Upon hearing this, Habeen reacted very quickly, saying that she was worried about being suspected. However, the analyst discovered a contradiction in Habeen's answer. Before Song Minute was murdered, she had created an alibi. This suggests it may have been a premeditated murder. The calmer Habeen appeared, the more suspicious the police became of her. They began to believe that Song Minute and Yang Minute were both harmed by her, but they still couldn't figure out her motive while Habeen was being interrogated to help her daughter clear herself of suspicion. Tesu met with Zhang Hai that evening. He then asked her to confirm the details of Jintae's testimony. Zhang Hai confirmed that she had not met the girl on the night Song Minute was born. Tu continued to question Zhang Hai's son, and the boy said that on the day of the crime, he and his mother had met with Minute with the boy's recording. Tu returned to the police station and shared his analysis. He suspected that Zhang Hai was the one who murdered Song Minute. He believed that Zhang Hai, after eliminating Song Minute, framed her innocent boyfriend, Jine. In addition, Tesu believes that Zhang Hai's motive for murder was money. When Song Minute left home to join a gang of runaways, she took some money with her, which she also received from Y Minute. Furthermore, while Y Minute was on the run, he also took a lot of money with him. However, after the 2 crimes occurred, no money bags were found at the scene. After hearing this, Captain Wu immediately took Zhang Hai to the police station. However, from beginning to end, Zhang Hai remained silent, refusing to say a word. Having no other choice, the police were forced to use Zhang Hai's son as a clue during questioning. The boy confessed that he had accidentally killed Song Minute on the day Song Minute came home late. He noticed his sister looked tired and unhappy, so he added some candy to her drink. A few days ago, he heard young Minute say that this candy would make people happy. He only wanted his sister to be happier, but unexpectedly, after Song Minute drank it, she died instantly on the spot. The case seems to have been solved, because if Zhang Hai's son was the one who harmed Song Minute, then Habeen is innocent. Soon after, Habeen was released because the real culprit had confessed. After leaving the police station, Habeen said she felt a little hungry. Music. Hearing this, Shu was surprised because it had been a long time since his daughter had proactively suggested going out to eat with him. Without thinking much, Shu immediately drove to find a restaurant for the 2 of them to have a late-night meal. However, at that moment, the police station called to inform him that he had to bring Habeen back to the station. Just now, a girl living at Zhang Hai's house had provided the police with a video. The video showed Habeen's mother digging a hole in the mountain to bury Soo-hyun's body. Based on this evidence, the police concluded that Habeen's mother was the one who murdered Soo-hyun. Furthermore, the police also believed that Hain approached Wai Mining, Song Minute, and others with malicious intent. Therefore, suspicion towards Hain became greater than ever. Immediately, Captain O questioned Tesu about this video. At the same time, the police received information about Mr. Dong's whereabouts. Captain O immediately led the team outside and discovered that Mr. Dong had approached the scene of the Y Minute crime. Zhang Hai was also present at the scene, and it seemed she had argued with Mr. Dong. When Mr. Dong saw the police, he immediately fled before being apprehended. The police tried to chase him, but Mr. Dong eventually disappeared. Then Zhang Hai handed the analysts a mysterious bag. She said it was found in another hiding place of Y Minute. After much thought, she decided to hand it over to the police, hoping it would help solve the case. Another girl also gave the police a video clip and said that Zhang Hai had asked her to bring it. The reason was to prove that he and his son were being unjustly suspected by the police. The police found Y Min's phone inside the bag. Messages on the phone showed that Y Minute had blackmailed Habeen's mother. He claimed to have witnessed Habeen killing Soo-hyun. Because of these messages, Captain O planned to request an arrest warrant for Habeen for the crime of Zip Soo-hyun. At this moment, Tu brought Mr. Dong to the police station to clarify everything. It turned out that tonight Tu had helped Mr. Dong escape from the police pursuit. He hoped Mr. Dong could persuade his son to change his mind and not foolishly confess to the crime for Zhang Hai. For Tu, proving Zhang Hai was the murderer was the only way to clear his daughter's name. Upon hearing this, Captain O requested that he be interrogated separately before being allowed to see his son. However, this did not mean that suspicions about Habeen would completely disappear. The analyst examined Habeen's computer and discovered that it was full of documents about related individuals. From Yin, Song Minute to the police officers at the police station and others, Habeen clearly had all the information about these people at his fingertips. Not only that, Habeen also thoroughly investigated his father from the cases he handled, his suspicions as well as the progress of the cases he shared. Furthermore, Harren thoroughly investigated all the plans related to her father. In addition, Harren even accurately predicted the development of events. Before everything happened, she predicted that her father would initially suspect her, but then he would choose to trust her during the interrogation. After finding the documents, Tu continued to defend her daughter. However, the analyst began to suspect that Habeen might actually be the one who harmed Soo-hyun. Her real purpose wasn't revenge for her mother, but to eliminate everyone who knew the truth. If that's the case, then Tae-shu had fallen into the trap set by Ji-young's daughter from the very beginning. Moreover, he was even unknowingly helping his daughter carry out her plan to escape punishment. On another note, at night, Zung Hai entered the hotel carrying a heavy bag. Inside, the bag was none other than the money Song Minute had taken from Yang Minute a few days earlier. In fact, Zung Hai, despite appearing weak and innocent, had perfectly deceived everyone. On the night of the violent crime, Song Minute met with Zung Hai privately. Song Minute knew that Y Minute had blackmailed a woman, and moreover, she knew that this woman had subsequently chosen to end her life to free herself. However, Song Minute also knew about the ambiguous relationship between Zung Hai and Y Minute. Furthermore, she suspected that Y Minute wasn't smart enough to devise a blackmail scheme. Therefore, Song Minute believed that Sung Hai was the one who instigated Y Minute. She demanded that Sung Hai share the money with her, otherwise she would expose the truth. To keep everything secret, Sung Hai gave Song Minute a special drug and then secretly eliminated her. However, Sung Hai's cruel actions were witnessed by her son. Afterwards, Sung Hai taught her son how to lie to cover up her crimes. But Sung Hai's crimes didn't stop at Song Minute. She also attacked Suan, who was Habeen's best friend. Yang Minute locked her in a dark room. At that time, Soo-hyun begged Zung Hai to release her, but despite her gentle appearance, she coldly refused. Finally, Zung Hai's son, unable to bear seeing Soo-hyun locked up, secretly unlocked the room. On the day Soo-hee escaped, she overheard a conversation between Zung Hai and Yin. She discovered that Zung Hai always pretended to be innocent. To escape this situation, Soo-hyun contacted Habeen to ask for her help. However, that night, Zung Hai found Zun first. When she was about to call the police, Zung Hai took advantage of her inattention and killed her. When Habeen's mother overheard the conversation between her daughter and Soo-hyun, she became worried and followed her daughter, so she witnessed Shu Hai-yuen's death firsthand. Afterwards, thinking that her daughter was the one who killed her, she decided to bury the girl's body to help her daughter. The girl contacted Y Minute, pretending to have seen Habeen kill Shu-han. Ultimately, she did this with the intention of having Y blackmail Habeen's mother. Currently, the police have no suspicions about Zung Hai and are focusing only on Habeen. The female analyst continues to question Habeen and shows a video of her mother hiding Soo-hyun's body in the car trunk. They suspect Habeen intentionally took her mother out that night to help her dispose of the body. However, Habeen remains calm as always, and points out that there is no evidence to suggest she is guilty. At this moment, the police discovered surveillance cameras at the scene where Soo-hyun was murdered. After checking, they found that Habeen's mother had bought and destroyed all the video footage a year earlier. Based solely on this, Captain Oh concluded that Habeen was definitely the murderer. He then asked Tu to persuade his daughter to confess. However, in the interrogation room, Tu said nothing about that suspicion. He only affirmed that he would catch the real murderer and prove his daughter's innocence. After everything that had happened, Tu believed that his daughter might be different from other children. But she was absolutely not a deranged killer from somewhere else to investigate Song Min's case, and analyzed that Yuan had brought Zung Hai's mother and son to the police station. Earlier, Zung Hai's son admitted to the police that he was the one who put the drug in Song Min's drink, causing her accidental death. However, analysts began to notice that during questioning, Zung Hai deliberately guided his son. Furthermore, before entering the interrogation room, the boy secretly reminded the analysts not to eat the food his mother cooked. In addition, Jin-tae, who was detained, also expressed suspicion about Sung Hai. Therefore, the analyst and Captain Oh began to shift their suspicion to Sung Hai. Furthermore, Tae-soo also expressed his suspicion towards Sung Hai. He believed that the three cases of Song Minute, Soo-hyun, and Y Minute were all committed by Sung Hai. To gather evidence of Zung Hai's crimes, Tu returned home and had a frank conversation with her daughter. Habeen recalled that after Suan was killed, her mother seemed to have started writing letters. Also, before her mother passed away, she frequently went to the temple to worship her brother's remains to investigate further clues. Music. Chu and her daughter went to that temple. Unexpectedly, they discovered a shrine containing Soo-hoon's remains. Next to the urn containing the ashes was a letter, written by Ha-bin's mother. In the letter, Ha-bin's mother expressed her suspicion that her daughter was responsible for Soo-hoon's death. However, she later found that her daughter had written many notes about how to treat her depression. Therefore, her mother gradually set aside her inherent suspicions about her daughter to uncover the truth. Her mother went to the intersection where Soo-hee-hun died to check the surveillance cameras. Finally, in the video recorded on the night of the crime, Ha-bin's mother discovered an image of Zung Hai. From that, her mother was certain that Zung Hai was the one who killed Soo-hee-hun and also the one who threatened her. Her mother went to confront Zung Hai, but unexpectedly, Zung Hai threatened her in return. If Ha-bin knew that her mother suspected her of murder, and moreover, that she had buried her best friend's body, she would surely be heartbroken. Zung Hai's words were truly a threat to Ha-bin's mother. Afraid of hurting her daughter, her mother lacked the courage to tell her about her suspicions. Later, feeling remorse, her mother made a wrong decision. After reading the letter, Ha-bin was very angry about her father's attitude. She believed that what needed to be done right now was not to arrest Zung Hai but to avenge her mother. Ha-bin even thought that her father's initial suspicion of her had caused her mother to suspect her. Moreover, that was also the indirect reason leading to Mom's permanent departure. Therefore, if Dad still has even a little bit of guilt, he should choose to frankly seek revenge. At the same time, the police discovered a huge sum of money that Zung Hai had hidden in a hotel. It was Wai-min's money. However, when questioned, Zung Hai continued to feign innocence. She claimed that although she had taken the money, she had not harmed Wai-min in order to force Zung Hai to confess to the crime. The police planned to bring her son in. However, they discovered that Ha-bin had already taken the boy away. Realizing her daughter's actions were for revenge, she immediately went to look for her. Indeed, after taking Zung Hai's son to some remote place, Ha-bin took advantage of the police's search efforts to sneak into the station. Then she secretly brought a knife to the police station with the intention of personally sending Zung Hai to his grave. However, at that very moment, Tu appeared. He tried to stop his daughter, even going so far as to grab the knife from her hand with his bare hands and tell her not to do anything foolish. At this moment, Ha-bin realized that Tu had never abandoned his daughter. In the past, he didn't dare confront his inner doubts, so he left his daughter with his wife. And now, Tu, in a gentle tone, asked his daughter if she would help her younger brother. Hearing her father's question, the resentment that had been building up in Ha-bin for years suddenly erupted. Suddenly, the little girl burst into tears like a child, overwhelmed with grief. She cried and insisted that she wasn't the one who pushed her younger brother off the cliff. Without hesitation, Tae-shu immediately expressed his complete trust in his daughter and apologized to her. After a long and arduous search, the analyst finally found Zung Hai's son in a park. Fortunately, the boy was unharmed, without a scratch, but no one was surprised because they knew Ha-bin had absolutely no intention of harming him. At the same time, at the detention center, Tu was using his professional knowledge to interrogate Zung Hai. Even though he knew the person sitting in front of him was Tu, Zung Hai continued to lie to deny his guilt. Things have come to this point, but she's still trying every way to shift all the blame onto poor little Ha-bin. However, in response to Zung Hai's incessant complaining, Tu calmly showed her a video. From the video's content, it's clear that Soo-hoon was already dead when Ha-bin arrived at the scene. Therefore, the idea that Ha-bin is the culprit behind Zip Soo-hyun is completely illogical. After recovering the deleted videos from Wai-min's phone, the police obtained this video. Even more surprisingly, they learned that on the night of the crime, Zung Hai was the one who recorded this video. Wanting to shift all the blame onto Ha-bin, she used Wai-min's phone to record the entire process. Realizing her guilt was about to become impossible to conceal, Zung Hai turned to blame Wai-min, the woman who was willing to sacrifice everything precious in her life for her. However, before Zung Hai could finish speaking, Tae-shu showed her another video. Through images extracted from the surveillance camera, it could be seen that Zung Hai was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that night, so the police can confirm that she was the one who heartlessly sent Soo-hyun to her grave. Furthermore, she was the one who filmed the video to frame Ha-bin. Luckily, Kian accidentally found this surveillance video while rummaging through the house. It turns out that years ago, her mother hadn't deleted all the videos from the surveillance cameras. In another interrogation room, Zung Hai's son also honestly confessed his mother's crimes. Zhang Hai's heinous crimes were brought to light. Everyone at the police station now knew the truth. But instead of rejoicing, Habine felt extremely worried. She feared that one day she would lose control and commit the same cruel acts as Zhang Hai. She also feared that she might exploit all her loved ones for personal gain. Hearing her daughter say this, Tu reaffirmed his belief in her. Soon after, Tu submitted his resignation and directly withdrew from the police station. From that day on, he would change, become an exemplary father, and return home to dedicate all his time to caring for his daughter. Time flies by so quickly. It's already Habine's birthday again. On that day, Tu still prepared a beautiful cake for his daughter. Not only that, he also gave Habine a rather fashionable watch. At this moment, the scenery outside the window looked incredibly peaceful and beautiful, just like the increasingly warm father-daughter relationship between Habine and him.